Hello, hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Are ready to roll here. All right. Top of the hour. We got a couple more minutes, Sarah, as our guests start showing up. Got a
Awesome.
full
I'm so
day.
excited to get started today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have got a full day of great sessions and plus 2 more days after today. So 3 days of great content, and hopefully everybody's joining us, has their favorite beverage of choice. So if you're here early with us, jump in the chat, tell us where you're dialing in from, and um, kind of beverage did you bring to join the chat today? Oh, excellent.
Maybe a conference where you can just be in the comfort of your office or home and have whatever drink you want while listening in to sessions and gaining valuable information. So, hope everyone is comfortable today. They have a good drink in hand and they're ready to hear some great speakers.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a Illinois with some iced chai. I think iced coffees are probably the way to go with the weather we're getting hit with, right? It's triple
For
digits here in
sure.
Oklahoma.
Yes, I am an iced coffee drinker year round, but in the summer it especially hits well when it's toasty outside. So nice.
Abs-
Welcome, Catherine. Welcome, Marianne. We've got we've got everyone from all over.
Excellent. Well, I know more will be joining us live, but we are right at the top of the hour, Sarah. So let's get started. Our first session will start at 11:15, but Sarah and I want to welcome everyone and kind of just go over some quick overviews and housekeeping fun things so that everybody's prepared for what we have in store for all 3 days. So, Sarah. We're here, Clicks and Communities, the 3 day
Yeah,
virtual summit.
I'm glad it's here. I feel like there's been a lot of planning and a lot of talk, but it feels really good to have the day finally arrive. So, Katie, let's talk a little bit about why we created Clicks and Community and how it came about.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, we had a little fun with AI as we do in the industry and as marketers. This is a virtual conference, but we want it to feel like it feels when you go to an in-person conference. So, our friend Chat helped us kind of imagine what this summit could feel like in a virtual capacity.
Yes, we gotta love our chat friends. These are always really fun, and I know we had a lot of fun putting it together. So this is just kind of our vision of if Clicks and Community were an in-person conference, this is what we hope it would look like. We hope there'd be a lot of collaboration between guests and speakers, and we hope that everyone would be able to kind of share some thoughtful takeaways in conversation. So even though it is not in person, we will talk about some ways to connect um, throughout the conference. But again, I think there are some values. There are some great things to a virtual conference, as much as I love an in-person event during the summer. I know a lot of us may be feeling that, kind of midsummer slump. We're a little over halfway through the year, and I know the conference season in person slows down a bit. So we felt like it would be a great time to gather virtually and share trends, takeaways, and hear from some of the leading industry experts within sales and marketing. So, Katie,
Yeah.
um, throughout this session, we hope that we're delivering some tactical takeaways, but we also want to have that collaborative feel. So tell us a little bit, Katie, how people can kind of make the most out of this virtual event throughout the next 3 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think one of the big things that motivated us to build this 3 day event, Sarah, was our commitment to really wanting to empower sales and marketing teams. And so we really, really hope that the sessions you find over the next 3 days are sparking inspiration with some of the best partners in the industry and some of the things you can take back and implement right away. So that's also a big piece of why we created the summit and why we wanted to make make it free for everyone at all levels. That requires no travel and any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of things with the Zoom events platform that are kind of really cool that we've been getting to learn about that make this a fun way to connect and network virtually. So to make the most over out of the next 3 days while you're coming to sessions, we obviously want you to come to as many sessions as possible. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but there are ways that you can connect with attendees and speakers. So in the lobby in your browser, when you join that link in your email, it'll take you to the lobby and you can go in there and chat with other attendees. You can chat before sessions, in between sessions. That's going to be live throughout the 3 days. So you can join early, hang out between those sessions. You're also able to connect with other attendees. You can you can update your profile in the upper right hand of the lobby when you're logged in, and you can actually let people know if you're open to networking. You can share some of your social links if you guys want to connect on LinkedIn. And we really want to encourage you to maybe reach out to somebody you've never talked to, maybe somebody in a similar role at another organization. um, really take the time to make those connections, because that is what makes conferences so impactful, is just having those connection points. So trying to give you some of those tools to do that virtually. And we're also going to encourage you to look at who's speaking. Is there a session speaker that you've never talked to? Somebody who does something you're interested in, somebody who had a really valuable takeaway. Reach out and connect with those session speakers. We've brought some of the best in the industry to this event, and definitely think there's a lot of great takeaways in these partnerships that we're bringing to you over the
Yeah.
next 3 days.
And
So
it's always intimidating to introduce yourself to someone at a conference. I know I have felt that in the past. So maybe virtually will be a bit less intimidating, but make those connections, talk to someone you've never talked to, reach out and connect with the speaker if you have any questions or insights that you want to dig into deeper with. Um, take that chance to connect, even though it's virtual.
absolutely. Now, if you're here with us live, this is considered session one as we're going through just some of these basic housekeeping. You are most likely in your Zoom window. So if you're joining the lobby, or you get to the lobby in your browser, that's where you can actually join into the sessions, and it will bring you typically into your Zoom window. So it's going to feel like Zoom a little bit. There's going to be a chat for each session, so you can chat it live in the sessions as we're going through the content, and then that lobby chat is in that browser area. So that's just a little notes that we've learned as we've been working through this system. If you have questions about the platform, or questions during the sessions, just please reach out to us. During the sessions, that chat is open for Q&A. I see Lauren is in the chat and going to be answering questions throughout the 3 days, but put your notes or questions there. We'll answer them during sessions, or have a Q&A session at the end for those questions. So use the chat, connect with each other. And then the final note of housekeeping is, I just want to say, yes, the sessions will be recorded. So if you're here live and you hear something great and you want to come back later to, maybe refresh your memory about what was said, or something like that, the sessions will be recorded. If you miss a session, you can come back and record those. They will be made available in that event lobby for a limited time for anybody who has registered. So you do have to be registered. If you're here, you're already registered for those recordings, but they will be made available after each session. So you'll, plus any other resources our speakers are bringing. We've got a lot of tangible takeaways, so a lot of resources. All of that's going to be made available after each of the live sessions. Perfect.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about who is speaking today and what you guys can expect. So, right after this intro, we're going to dive into a case study with our very own Katie Holt and one of our longtime clients, Darren Seise from Charles E. Smith. And we're going to talk about the success that they've had with their community ring house, about turning senior living traffic into sales qualified opportunities. After that, you guys are going to get to hear from Nathan Jones, which, trust me, you're going to want to sit in on this one. I've had the opportunity to see Nathan speak in person at a number of events. And he's going to talk about using video and storytelling throughout the entire sales journey. So we will wrap up the day with Adrienne Mansfield from Ad Age Marketing, and she is going to share some really interesting research that they've done to help understand kind of the next generation of senior living consumers. So make sure you stick around for that. We do encourage you all to join for the live sessions. There's going to be a little bit of a giveaway at the end. Katie, do you want to talk about giveaways for those who are attending live sessions?
Yeah. Well, yes, we want everybody to attend as many live sessions as possible. Today's theme is all about digital foundations, and that's why these speakers and these sessions have been put on day one, because all of these digital foundations help you to build a strong, sustainable, and scalable strategy. Now, in order to encourage a little bit of fun and a live attendance, we have designed a little giveaway. We're going to do a drawing for those who attend and join us live. And we've tried to make it kind of easy. Basically, if you attend a live session, you get an entry into our drawing. So for every session you attend over the next 3 days, which there's a total of 10 sessions, for every session you attend live, you will be automatically entered into our drawing. At the end of each day, we will have an end of day survey. We want to get feedback from you guys. Tell us what was impactful for you, what were some takeaways from each of the day's sessions. So each of those surveys that you complete will get you a bonus entry into our giveaway. And then a final bonus entry will be our end of event survey. So 4 surveys, we ask to give feedback. So for every survey you fill out and give us your feedback, you will be automatically entered to win, plus the 10 opportunities when you join live for the sessions. So we will enter everybody into a drawing and we will announce the winner on Monday, August 3rd. The prize of this drawing is a $150 Amazon gift card. So hopefully it makes it a little bit of fun and worth joining live and entering, getting that chance to win in our free drawing. Also, be sure you follow us on LinkedIn because that's where we will announce the winner of the giveaway and then we'll connect with the winner directly. So
Awesome. I know everyone loves a good giveaway, so I think that's going to be really fun. Um, awesome. Well, let's dive into it. I'm really excited to introduce our first guest. Darren, if you want to come on into the webinar from backstage. Darren and Katie will be talking a bit about a case study with one of the communities at Charles E. Smith, Ring House. So we're going to give Darren just a minute to pop in here, but Darren is the Vice President of Development at Charles E. Smith. So I will let you guys take it away.
welcome, Darren. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Excellent. Well, I think everybody's actually here to see you today, Darren. So I hope you're
Fantastic.
ready. Awesome. All right. So let's get in. I will bring up our presentation. For those who have attended a Smart Girl session in the past, you may recognize our format here. So let's get into it. There we go. Today, in our first session, we're talking all about the digital foundations. And one of the things we've seen with Ringhouse and working with Darren and his team has been some really great shifts and improvements in their strategy and results by just simply focusing on these foundations. So, Darren, before we get too far into this, why don't you tell our friends who you are and a little bit more about what you do?
Welcome, everybody. My name is Darren Seise, and I'm the VP of Business Growth for Charles E. Smith Life Communities. Charles E. Smith Life Communities started 116 years ago as Hebrew Home of Greater Washington, and we still operate Hebrew Home, which is the largest skilled nursing in the Mid-Atlantic. But as we've grown, we've added independent living, both market rate and subsidized independent living. We have assisted living and memory care. We have a geriatric physician practice. We have home care. We have elder safe for abused seniors. So a lot of different entities under the Charles E. Smith umbrella. We're located just over the border outside of Washington, D.C., in Bethesda and Rockville, Maryland. And in my role, I oversee sales and marketing, communications, strategic partnerships, all focused on growing the business and expanding our mission. So that's kind of a nutshell.
That's a lot. That's a lot for a nutshell, Darren. Well, as we get into this, we've made this a little bit of an interactive session, and I want to come back to a little bit more around Ringhouse and specifically the independent living side of your campus. But as everybody can see on the screen, we are going to have a little bit of a quiz. So we've decided this to be interactive. It's a QR code on your screen. So if you are here live with us, pull out your phone, scan the QR code, and we're going to have some questions along the way just to see how smart our friends are. Don't worry, it's not a super hard academic quiz. It's just for fun, but there will be a prize of a $50 Amazon gift card for the first place winner. So if you want to join the competition and the fun, scan the QR code, put your name in there, use your real name so that we know who you are in case you do win, so we know how to contact you. And we're going to start the quiz with just a quick starter question, super easy, just to make sure everybody is set up and ready to go. So I'll give everybody just a couple more seconds to scan that QR code, put their name in, and we're gonna give everybody a second to join this first question. And this is just gonna kind of make sure the tech in the quiz is working. All right, people are joining. Okay. All right, so the first question is really simple. Very, very simple. I'm going to launch this, and it is, are you ready for today? Are you ready to play? Yes or no? Super simple. Yes, no. Click your answer. Quick 15 seconds just to make sure everybody has they need. 2, 1. Awesome. Okay, Darren, everybody's ready. That was 100%
All
yes.
right.
Awesome. Okay, this QR code will stay on the screen throughout our session in case you are jumping in a few minutes after we've gotten started here. Feel free to join the fun along the way. It will be there. But let's get into it. So, Darren, let's tell us a little bit more about Ringhouse, specifically the independent living side of the campus, and a little bit more context specific to Ringhouse within the Smith Life kind of ecosystem.
Yes. So Ringhouse is an independent living community, but there's quite a few nuances. It is private pay, but we also have a subsidy program. So we have 99 units of subsidized housing. So when we're marketing, we need to be mindful of appealing to both the private pay market and the subsidized housing market, which have different, financial criteria, obviously. Although you don't have to be Jewish to live at Ringhouse, we are a Jewish an organization based on Jewish values. And at the end of the day, 90% of the people at Ringhouse are Jewish. So don't need to be, but the fact that we have kosher dining, we have cultural observances, we have a real sense of community are very important differentiators for this community. It's one of 6 residences on campus, and our campus spans 2 blocks in Bethesda and Rockville. Um, and it's kind of like a CCRC, but without the entrance fee. So we do have residents at Ringhouse who move on to our assisted living community. We have residents who use Hebrew Home for post-acute rehab, but there isn't an entrance fee as a typical CCRC, but it does kind of function the same way.
Yeah.
And the building is a little bit dated. It's aging infrastructure. And so all of this is a part of teeing up this residence for an investment of about $20 million, which is beginning this fall to improve the common areas and the dining program and some of the other, less sexy stuff like HVAC and other things that just need to be updated. So that's kind of the challenge for Ringhouse.
Well, and all of those, even those operational improvements you're talking about and that capital investment, all of that is dynamics that play into the current marketing strategy and sales process and how you actually are moving towards those occupancy goals. So that all of that dynamic plays into that digital strategy, positioning, targeting, in order to drive those leads for Ringhouse as a private pay independent living community, which in our work together, we know that that's who we're looking to attract, are families who are looking for that style of living and can afford that style of living. So when it comes to senior living marketing, there can be a lot of different tactics and strategies to be implemented, but there is a core problem with senior living marketing. Darren, give me thoughts or opinions about what that core problem might be with senior living marketing?
Well, I think 90+% of the time, if you ask the salespeople what the problem is, their answer is we need more leads. But is that really the case? Do they need more leads? Is it a lead quality issue? I think a lot of times it comes down to actionable leads, leads that are ready to engage, ready to take that next step. And, I like the terminology marketing qualified lead versus sales qualified lead, but I think what they're really asking for are actionable, engaging leads.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's true. But the answer to what the problem might be will probably depend on who you ask. I imagine your board may give us a different answer if they may want to see more data, right? Like it kind of depends on who you ask this question to. But I think as a lot of sales and marketing people, and maybe on the marketing side, I've heard this a lot recently, is we don't really have a volume problem, a lead volume problem. We can get a lot of leads. The question you mentioned is, are they qualified? And I like that term actionable. Are they ready to take that action? And that's up for discussion in your digital strategy. But the reality is the silver tsunami is here. We've been talking about this tsunami for the 10 years I've been in the industry, but it is here. Baby boomers are retiring. They are moving into or considering senior living options. So it's not necessarily a volume problem, but let's start our first quiz question and ask the audience. So audience, it's time for a quick quiz question. The way this will work, I will read the question on the slide, so the quiz is not live. I'll read this to you and then we will launch the question. So in your mobile device, you will be able to answer once I launch the question. So let's ask this question here to the audience. When occupancy goals are missed, marketing is often to blame. However, most senior living operators agree that the primary issue with their marketing pipeline isn't the lack of lead volume. What is the actual problem? So we'll launch this question here. Your options to answer: is the problem a lack of digital ad spend and budget? B, a lead quality and alignment problem? Or C, too few platforms are being used? So just a few more seconds to get your answers in. All right. Okay. Looks like most people said B. B is the correct answer here. Really, our biggest problem in senior living marketing is the lead quality and alignment problem. And so, Darren, let's talk about what that alignment was for Ringhouse and kind of what was happening before you came to work with Smart Girl and what was really needed to turn around that marketing strategy.
So I first began speaking with Smart Girl about 4 months after starting in this position. So I was pretty new to the organization. There was an existing partner that we were working with, an agency that was focused on casting a very wide net and appealing to the luxury independent living clientele. We're a very affluent market. It is a booming suburb of DC. There are lots of new construction going in, lots of high-end independent living. We knew we were getting a significant volume of inquiries, but we weren't getting move-ins. We weren't transitioning. We weren't growing census. And the at the time, we decided to replace our prior agency. And just after making that decision, our communications director left. So I had quite a bit of a problem on my hands, not knowing whether the strategy the prior agency was engaging in of casting this wide net, competing with the high end ILs in the market was working, or if we were missing the mark. Were we really appealing to, as I mentioned, 90% of the folks are Jewish. Were we really appealing to those folks, or were we casting a wide net, getting a lot of inquiries, but then we weren't resonating with those folks? Were they really looking for what our community had to offer in terms of what our key differentiators were? So we were struggling to figure out and dive in and figure out what was working. Is the strategy wrong? How do we need to tweak it? And really a lack of data to help make those decisions on the front end.
Yeah, casting that wide net can make sense to maybe target a larger audience, but then it's the question of, are you positioned in a way that helps you stand out or connect with your target audience? Plus, yeah, you mentioned the data. I know that was a really big part of our initial conversations, was getting reporting and attribution sorted out so that you in your new role could have that transparency and the data to make those decisions related to how you moved forward.
Well, we knew the leads were coming in, but we didn't know what was working. We were spending a lot of money. We were well over budget, and at the current spend, we would have blown through our annual budget for the year by May. And
Yeah.
so we needed to stop. We needed to be more strategic about what we were doing, and we needed to be more mindful of what was working and where we were going to be spending those dollars. So,
Absolutely. And that's one of our very first initiatives. We had a few very first initiatives as we made some pivots, but we did a lot of work with you on UTM mapping. And for the digital marketers in the room, those UTMs are the digital codes, if you will, on a URL that tell us where traffic came from. Did it come from Google? Did it come from Facebook? And so being able to map those UTMs into a market or lead source in the CRM that gave you visibility in your sales reporting and your business reporting was a huge piece of aligning the data so that the data is flowing through and informing you on what's driving inquiries, tours, and move-ins.
I think the communication is really essential to be able to figure out what's working and what isn't. And a lot of it comes back to getting the communication from the CRM, from the sales team. We do regular reporting weekly. Smart Girl Digital's getting reports from our CRM to show conversion statistics, lost lead reasons. And then we have regular calls to also dig in and really try to support the sales team better in figuring out what leads we're attracting and which ones are being most effective in advancing.
Absolutely. And this really is all about that lead alignment, being able to use that data, aligning the data flow, getting that feedback from the sales team, and making sure that all of the marketing is supporting the sales process so that we can all advance the occupancy goals. Well, let's move into talking about like what else went into fixing the digital foundation, because a lot of times it can sound really easy to just like plug in a few platforms so that all the data is integrated. It can sound like a quick and simple process, but it does really start with identifying which parts may be leaking budget or conversion opportunities. And that was another area in addition to UTM mapping. It was also looking at the kind of infrastructure of what was happening and where there were potential points of leakage within your digital foundation. So our next quiz question for our audience, if they're ready, is which outdated website strategy actively hurts your SEO and splits your traffic? Since the question is launching, your options are: is this outdated strategy A, operating a standalone microsite that competes with your main domain, B, having too many landing pages, or C, using localized keywords? So you can get your answers in 3, 2, one. All right, the answer is A, operating a standalone microsite that competes with the main website. So this microsites may be a good option. I don't want to say microsites are bad. I did call them outdated. There are reasons and times that are appropriate to use a microsite for very specific reasons around maybe launching a larger website or as a temporary solution. However, with Ringhouse, what we found was the microsite had started to kind of grow as they're casting the larger net. It started to become a little bit more of a direct competing website with the main Smith Life Communities website. So it was actually splitting the SEO traffic, which was also splitting the ability to track, and it used different tools. So it didn't have that full lead alignment and data flow integration happening with leads coming through the microsite. So one of our very first initiatives was to make a plan to sunset that microsite and migrate all web forms on the main website into web forms that integrated into the CRM. So every inquiry that came through the web forms pushed automatically into the CRM, had that UTM attribution mapping to the market source or the lead source, and then be able to move all of the SEO work to the main core website. And that really generated a lot of a solid foundation rather than having two separate sites, focusing on the one main website as a hub, really streamlined everything from tracking, created a clearer process for mapping the data of tours and move-ins back to their original market source.
I think it's not that a microsite is good or bad. If there's a strategy to it, if you're trying to present something that otherwise maybe would get lost or overshadowed in the messaging on your primary website, that might have a very valuable use. We have an issue now. We have a home care agency that was a joint venture. We've now purchased bought out our partner, and so they have a separate website. And so we have an ongoing debate. Is that good that they have a separate website? Everything else is on our main website. Why is that, why is that beneficial? And I don't think we know the answer yet, but it could be that we would gain more exposure by having them as part of our website. But there's also an argument that we don't want to necessarily be the Jewish home care agency because that may pigeonhole us into a more narrow market segment. And so it's not that it's inherently good or bad, but you need to know what the strategy is and whether it's actually meeting those goals or not.
Yeah, well, and an answer I give a lot, and unfortunately is not an answer a lot of people want to hear, is the answer to should you keep the separate site or not is it really does depend. It depends on your goals. It depends on sometimes the business structure. It also depends on your audience and positioning. So there could be very valid reasons to have a microsite. In the case of Ringhouse, where we were looking to bring together a holistic approach to their digital ecosystem, it really didn't make sense to have Ringhouse have a separate website. So bringing all that back to the main domain, optimizing the main domain, optimizing the customer experience and the customer journey, and making sure that that was cohesive for Ringhouse did really make some major improvements. We saw an increase in overall web traffic. We saw an increase in overall conversions. Our conversion rate also increased substantially by almost 87% increase in conversion rate. And it all became measurable because now we could see it all from one single platform with optimizing that entire data flow.
Year over year, our move-ins from digital sources almost doubled, just shy of doubling. Our conversion rates have been strong, and it's always a natural comparison when you're looking at aggregators like a Place for Mom. They're very strong in the digital space. So are you getting those prospects to your website before they're going to an aggregator, and then you're paying for that referral? And the results have been very promising. 50% higher inquiry to tour ratio than a Place for Mom, not to pick on a Place for Mom, but at the end of the day, These are the numbers that matter when, as a vice president, if I'm going to our CEO or I'm going to the board and advocating why we're spending money on one avenue versus another, it's nice to see that the move-ins have doubled, and the return on our investment is much stronger than it would be with some of the aggregators and other lead attributions.
Absolutely. And we're at a place where now we can start focusing on optimizing conversion rate and implementing new conversion points for users that come to your website. So that foundation is so critical. I probably will say this a lot over the next 3 days. Having a solid foundation in your digital strategy helps you be able to walk before you can run and then run even faster as you optimize for scale. Quick leaderboard check in. Okay, Brandon and Katrina are neck and neck with Angelique coming up not far behind. All right, folks, we got a few more questions here as we move through to our next section, which is the cost of paid media. So once the foundation is fixed, usually the next thing we get asked, Darren, is how much should we be spending on ads? How much do paid ads cost? Maybe even should we be doing paid ads? Do you have any thoughts on how you look at setting your monthly ad spend budget for Ringhouse?
So obviously there's a variety of ways that you can spend your advertising dollars. And I'm one of the things that I really like about digital is that it is easy to quantify. I've done, TV and radio, I've done billboards, I had planes flying down the Jersey Shore pulling banners on Saturday over the summer. How do you track what's working and what isn't? And by having the UTM mapping and being able to track where the lead came from, and then once they're in the CRM, are they converting? Are they coming into tour? Are they converting to move-ins? It gives you a much more honest assessment of what's working versus other avenues where you're reliant on the salesperson asking that question and properly documenting it in the CRM. So it makes it a lot easier to manage and to advocate when you have that data at your fingertips.
Absolutely. So when setting budgets, sometimes using a data metric like cost per lead can be really, really helpful for determining your monthly ad spend. So let's tee up the next question for our audience. Thinking about industry benchmark stats when it comes to cost per lead or cost per inquiry in the senior living industry. According to a 2024 industry benchmark survey, what is the typical cost per lead for a senior living PPC or pay per click campaign? So get ready. I'm going to launch the quiz question. Your options are going to be A is the average cost per lead in senior living $25 to $50 per lead, B $100 to $250 per lead, or C $300 to $500 per lead. So if you they keep shuffling the answers came up backwards. I swear I fixed that. All right, time's up. All right, the answer is B. According to a 2024 industry benchmark survey, the average cost per lead in senior living in a pay-per-click or PPC campaign is $100 to $250 per lead. And really, this matters because everything is measurable, Darren, like you said, because what that allows us to do is really be able to optimize your ad spend for occupancy needs, lead volume needs, but also quality of those leads in terms of how we target. And so through working with refining Ringhouse's geography and demographic targeting and keyword refinement, we've been able to not only increase lead volume by 4x, we have dropped ad spend by 30%, where the average cost per inquiry that we are seeing for the Ringhouse specific account, and these are going to be qualified leads. So I took out all of those unqualified leads because it does happen. I'd love to tell you marketing can get 100% qualified leads, y'all, but there's no perfect solution out there on that. But when we take out those lost leads who are unqualified for any reason, the average cost per conversion for Ringhouse is $145 per qualified inquiry coming in. And that is right within that industry benchmark. a little bit on the lower side, but that is because we are constantly looking at how we optimize, and we're doing this with human input. Google is making such a huge shift right now to push their AI features, and they're making changes weekly, if not daily, sometimes it feels, on moving to AI optimized campaigns. Um, but really making sure that we have humans touching and managing these accounts on a regular basis so that targeting and keyword and conversion data is all in alignment with the goals that Ringhouse has.
I think the data is critical in our organization. We're governed by a board of governors who are not senior living professionals, but they are successful business people. Many of them are involved in multifamily housing and other real estate and business development. And so they're used to looking at these numbers. They're used to looking at how these numbers compare to what is happening in their businesses. And if you work for a larger company, obviously you have different regions competing, you have different communities competing. So I think it's important not only to look at it as a snapshot, but also look at the trend. Where different communities have different criteria. It's not going to be the same at every community. But where are you at a snapshot, and then where are you able to make changes to get that to be a lower cost and to have higher conversion rates? And I think the good news for the marketing, especially the digital marketing folks in the room, is this gets more and more complex every day. And in a world where AI is taking away a lot of jobs, this is something that I think will always need that human factor. The rules keep changing, the tools keep changing. And so an evolution. It's not a set it, get it up and running, and then move on to the next thing. It's constant back and forth, tweaking, figuring out what's working, and adjusting as the market changes.
Absolutely. And Marianne asked a great qualifying question. The $145 per conversion is a Google Ads conversion or an inquiry. So not to confuse that with the $145 per move-in. No, this is $145 per qualified inquiry, sales qualified inquiry for the Ringhouse team. So lead that they're working. But yeah, Darren, I agree with the sentiments of AI is, like I mentioned, Google's moving a lot of things to AI, and we're actually starting to limit the levers we can pull to manage accounts. I've managed accounts in Google Ads since the early years of my digital career, and um, Google's trying to really emphasize letting AI do some of that. And sometimes they get it right and sometimes they don't, but it's really about that human management and also creating a feedback loop to Google so they know what is a good lead. Google is getting smarter in that way, but I'm not of the mindset to totally let the AI take over just yet. So that human management is super important. All right, let's do a quick leaderboard check-in. All right. Oh, we had a fourth place run here with Kate, but Katrina and Brandon still neck and neck. We had our top three are holding strong. All right, moving into our next section about benchmarking, mid-funnel, and early stage conversion. So we've really talked a lot about the foundational elements of your digital strategy, but as we talked about at the beginning, it's not all a volume problem. It really is alignment, and alignment in marketing is aligning along the entire customer journey. So what happens after somebody makes that inquiry? What happens after somebody raises their hand and maybe wants to talk to somebody, because not every lead is ready to move in today. More and more, our audience is researching. They're much smarter before they come and talk to our teams at the community. They've done their research. They're looking online, looking at reviews, doing all the things before they even fill out a form on your website. And so that mid-funnel journey really starts with the moment where they're looking at resources that they're willing to fill out a little bit of information. Maybe it's to download a checklist. Maybe it's just your community brochure. The community brochure is such a great tool and asset that they may say, yeah, I want to know more about a community, but I'm not quite ready to talk to the sales team. And so we like to call those your marketing qualified leads. And these types of resources help fill that marketing qualified lead or MQL pipeline because they are willing to share a little bit of information, but again, maybe not quite ready for that sales conversation. Also, the mid-funnel journey, I like to kind of put in this like early stage sales qualified leads. So your sales qualified leads or your SQLs is how we might refer to them, are going to be folks who have raised their hand to say they, contact us on your website, or maybe they schedule a visit on your website, or maybe they have chatted with your chatbot on your website. They're more open to talking to somebody at the community, but early in that process, we talk a lot about speed to lead. There are ways that we can align our marketing strategies with the sales process to help support those early stage conversions. So in our next quiz question, here is the next question for our audience. For an MQL, or those marketing qualified leads, or an early stage SQL, sales qualified lead, what is the most effective way to move them towards a tour without adding to the sales team's workload? So I'm going to launch the question for our audience. Your options are going to be A, do we just wait for them to call the community? B, do we have an automated nurture campaign? Or C, do we put them on a generic monthly newsletter? A few seconds to get this in. All right, 100% accurate. B, the answer is B, an automated nurture sequence. So implementing these nurture sequence was a definite priority when we started working together. Darren, tell us what the impact has been for you and your Ringhouse team now that we have several of these campaigns running for Ringhouse.
These campaigns were honestly one of the biggest reasons why we selected Smart Girl Digital, because there are other companies that can do, digital marketing, but Smart Girl's understanding of the business and understanding of the CRM platforms, and being able to use these campaigns was really appealing to me because I think just a couple of years ago, if you had asked me what's the difference between sales and marketing, right? Everyone just says sales and marketing, sales and marketing. But historically, I think people would say marketing is about generating the inquiry, and then sales takes over and it's a sales function from there. But the lines have been really blurred since then, and there's a lot of opportunity for marketing to help people through the early, middle, and even later stages of the sales process, by helping them not necessarily rely on the sales team, which is probably overworked and underpaid. But how can these campaigns supplement the activities of the sales team, bubble up some of the prospects that are now at a point where they're beginning to interact more, they're beginning to convey more information to us, and begin taking those next logical steps in the buying process. So these campaigns have been very helpful at moving the prospect through the process and helping the sales team identify who's ready to act, who should they be reaching out to. So the feedback from the campaigns is very important as well.
Yeah, I love that. And starting really with like an MQL campaign, we did a download a brochure nurture sequence. And what we were seeing in the data is you were having a lot of people request the Ringhouse brochure, but it would basically fall to the sales team to do that follow-up. So by implementing automation for folks who downloaded the brochure, we're able to create a sequence of communications that has shown a steady performance at consistently moving those folks towards a tour with an 8.2% download to tour ratio, which is stronger than what is considered a strong conversion rate in these types of campaigns for the industry. It's really about delivering value add content at that early research stage where I like to categorize them as an MQL if they download a brochure. But I also think you guys had some processes with your sales team for how your sales team worked with folks who downloaded that brochure and engaged with those emails.
It's not it's very different than a lot of traditional marketing activities. And I do a lot of mystery shops and I'm on a lot of companies, email lists, and I get a ton of generic newsletters, tips for staying hydrated over the summer and recipes, and that's not applicable. If you are searching for a community, it's not about just touch points. It's not about sending people more information. It's about sending them the right information. And by having the campaigns and having them integrated with the CRM, you know what steps the person has taken. Have they already come in for a tour? Do they need to do they need to be taken out of one campaign and participate in a different campaign? So it's really important to be in alignment with the prospect. And so this has been a very, very strong campaign for us.
Absolutely. And I like to focus on the conversion rate here of downloaded tour of like 8% because that's really, really strong, but also your engagement rates, which in email marketing is important, but not, as important, but still a metric that measures how well is this audience engaged in receiving your messages. Not only are they opening it at 58% on average, their click rates in these emails is 20%, which tells us that the value add content is helping answer questions that they have. So trying to learn more about the Ringhouse community. So it's really about automating and supporting the sales process, but also delivering value along the customer's journey so that they can make an informed decision. And then moving into that early stage kind of SQL part of the sales journey. This is, our welcome campaign has also performed really, really well as a sales enablement tool for your team to help kind of fill those gaps at supporting their process with aligning automated messages that reinforce their community while your sales team is doing their standard follow-up process with phone calls, maybe text messages and other outreach to be able to try to book that tour. So this welcome campaign is another area in the sales journey that we can align our digital strategy with the sales process to help move folks forward right after they make inquiry and help move them towards that tour. We've seen really strong metrics with this as well in terms of the overall automation strategy. Perfect. Okay. We're going to move into our final quiz question. I'm like watching the clock, making sure we're staying on time here and on pace. So we're right on time. We're in the last section. The last question for today for this session is going to be all about maximizing that post-tour window, because we all know that the sales journey doesn't end once a family has finished that in-person tour. So the next question is moving us into maximizing that post-tour window. And that question is, what is a key benefit of an automated post-tour campaign? So on your devices, the question is there. Your options for the answer are: it removes the prospect from your CRM. B, it replaces the need for a sales counselor to ever call them again. Or C, it reinforces the community's value, requests feedback, and keeps momentum going. So a few more seconds. What is the key benefit for launching an automated post-tour campaign? And yes, the answer is C. It reinforces the community's value, helps request feedback, and keeps momentum going. Darren, this is a critical moment in the sales process and the customer journey right after that tour is completed. Tell us about some of the different ways you're engaging families at this moment of the journey.
We have two different post-tour campaigns. This campaign, and then we also utilize our online reputation management software. We use a platform called Bird Eye, and we have automated campaigns there as well, which ask people to provide a positive Google review. And that has been very successful. I initially didn't know how many people after just touring would leave a review, but they have been overwhelmingly positive. And so we're getting feedback from this campaign, and we're getting the online reputation management support through the Google reviews. So this is a very important touch point once people have gotten a chance to come in and tour the community and really have an understanding of what you're offering.
Absolutely. Well, and getting that feedback is important for the team. Your automated email campaigns are about 15% of those people who tour will fill out the survey, but 33% of folks after they tour will engage in calling back in from an email from the that automated campaign, and that's in addition to the outreach done through the Bird Eye platform. But yeah, that's it's really kind of making the most of. That moment in the journey without disrupting the sales process.
I think the feedback is hugely beneficial because people have a chance to digest the information. There is so much that we discuss with prospects during a tour. I mean, most of them last an hour plus. It's a lot of information to digest, and so you see a lot of feedback that is misperceptions or people didn't understand something, and so the sales team then has that knowledge to be able to go back and handle the objections or clarify, the misperceptions at that point. So the feedback portion of it is very, very helpful.
Absolutely. Well, and you touch on and reviews and Google reviews are helpful for a number of reasons. Helps with your local SEO, helps with the social proof that researching families are looking at and reading. While we were kind of preparing for today's session, you shared some fun ways your team's encouraging everyone on the team to ask for reviews. Do you care to share a couple of those ideas?
I will. So we are constantly, just like everybody else, looking for ways to solicit positive reviews. We know that when people are dissatisfied customers, they're very willing to go online, but most of your happy customers are not so inclined to take a few minutes. And so we've been exploring different ways that we can get those positive reviews. And one that we've started working and we have a contest coming up is we have pens that are NFC pens. They're just a regular pen, but when you tap it onto a phone, it opens up the page to leave a Google review. And so we are doing a contest at our skilled nursing between departments to see which department can solicit the most reviews using these pens. And so while we're sitting, maybe a therapist is doing PT with a resident, or nursing is at the bedside doing something, and in the moment they can just say, would you mind taking a minute to give us a positive review? And they can just tap the person's phone and it opens the page. One of the nice things about it is also there is a button for direct feedback. And so when people get to that page, we overwhelmingly get positive reviews. If somebody does have something negative, they can click direct feedback and we get that message privately that doesn't get posted on Google or any online platform. So we just got the pens in and we are excited to launch that contest at our community. But
I think
stay
that's
tuned.
such I think that's such a great idea because Google's also refining their rules around getting reviews. And one of the rules they're kind of cracking down on is multiple reviews coming from the same IP address or the same device. So if you're using a tablet at the community to ask people to leave a review, Google's starting to crack down on that type of stuff. Also, soliciting reviews for specific team members is something they're calling out. And I don't know how they fully enforce this, but I love the idea of measuring the mentions of specific departments in a review because now it's, mentioning everybody in that department on that team and kind of rewarding operational excellence by delivering a great experience regardless what department they're in. So I thought those were really some really smart ideas. I have looked into those pens because they sound really stinking cool. So thank you for sharing those. Well, folks, as we wrap up today on session one, the reality is all in all that Ringhouse's digital growth ecosystem is really about having a solid digital strategy designed to increase qualified web traffic and qualified actionable leads while also creating increasing search visibility to drive those inquiries at a lower cost. And all of this is looking at how that foundation works together so that you have a clearer picture on what is working, what is not working as you look to implement some of the new and fun and innovative things that are happening in the digital space. Having this solid foundation, I hopefully have seen the success and the metrics that Ringhouse has had. Darren, thank you for being here today. For our audience who has stayed with us this long, tell us how they can connect with you if they have any other questions.
Uh, Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been 2 years of a journey together, and it really has been a very collaborative process. You know what you're looking for. You don't necessarily know how to get there. So having a partner who really understands the ins and outs has been a huge, huge benefit to me, and really I think the partnership has been great. So if anyone would like to learn more about kind of how we have evolved and what we looked at, and how we've kind of made our assessments, please reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, so you can just search me that way, and I'm happy to answer any questions or jump on a call if people would like to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I mean, we have a leaderboard, final leaderboard check-in to get to. Before we do, if you or your team wants to learn more about what it's like to work with me and the Smart Girl team, grab some time on my calendar. The QR code here will take you right to a link where you can find time for us to connect. And I would love to know more about what the current status of your digital efforts looks like, what your goals are, and just make sure we're a right fit. We are passionate about serving the senior living industry. Our team comes with operational experience. We over half our team has worked on the operator side, so we definitely understand what it's like to manage the many priorities of being on the operator side. And I would love to be able to connect with anybody who's interested in knowing more about what we do. Darren, it's been a lot of fun, but let's see who our big winner of the prize is. Are you ready?
Let's see.
Drum roll. Katrina. Good job, Katrina, with 485 points. You are our winner. I will reach out to connect with you for your Amazon gift card. We have about a 15-minute break between now and our next session. Session 2 today is Nathan Jones with Dash Media. He's going to be sharing all about storytelling along the entire funnel customer journey. He's got a lot of great content if you haven't seen Nathan share his stories of what they capture at communities. Definitely come back in about 15 minutes. If you're hanging out with us all day and you want to be in the lobby chat and connecting with people, hopefully I'll see you over there between sessions, and I will see you all in a few.